All right, guys, welcome back to the Growth by Shawn podcast. I'm here with a very interesting guest that has blown my mind thus far, taken in all of your content, just speaking with you thus far. I've listened to a little bit about your story. So, Chris, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to have you. The first thing I want to just start with is thank you for being here, but also, what is the best way for us to segue? That way, anyone that does not know you can get that brief overview look of who we're speaking to, why we should even listen to you today.
Hi, it's a good question to start. Well, first, thank you for offering the space. For those that don't know, I have been a little censored, a little limited on social media at times due to the nature of content that I share. So the best place to find me is at ComeOutBetter on Instagram. Make sure you guys tap in there. And then Shawn had reached out and offered the space. And anytime there's a space to speak and share my experience, things I see, how I see the world, things that I know so many people get caught up in of the go-go of life, that it's hard just to slow down, stop, and be present to really have everything catch up to you. So me personally, I'm from California, Southern California. I was born and raised in Irvine, and I was an athlete. I was not an entrepreneur. I wasn't a content creator. I wasn't a crypto. None of this stuff was really anywhere in my field. I grew up with a basketball in my hand. So I played about 15, 20 years of basketball, Division One college, and then I played professionally for a year. And that was when I actually had my first awakening. I got a health scare. I had colitis, acid reflux, eczema. I was a pro athlete, but on paper, but underneath the tank, I was in bad shape. So that was my first wake up call. I was given an option, big pharma route or holistic route. God lovingly, I went holistic and have not felt better since. Changed my water, right? That has changed so much in my life. And then my spiritual awakening happening in 2017, an out of body experience, which I never thought I would be able to ever have. I had no clue what these things were. I had a woman in my life named Jilly at the time. She was planting seeds of like 9/11. What does 111 mean? Oh, who are these secret families? And Shawn, it's like at first 5 or 8, 10 years ago, you're like, yeah, no, that sounds like a movie. You just don't believe it's possible or it's real. You can't comprehend it. So she planted seeds, and I always thank her to this day, had my awakening. And then a few months later, after I started diving deep into these rabbit holes of holistic health and the government, my dad gets cancer. And so that was a big curveball in my life. So you're waking up, but as you wake up, the closest person to you is going down. And to go through that experience is where now we are at today. It was dark. It was the full-on hero's journey. It was the phoenix crashing and rising, just like I have right behind me. Like that's the emblem and the symbol that I really live by. And then the name was birth, come out better. Like, all right, I'm down to the ashes. We've been broken, manipulated, lied to, backstabbed, just all the things we associate as bad in this world. We just feel like life is just a ball of ash, like we're nothing. It's just what's our identity, our ego, all of these things that what happens when we wake up. And then slowly every day, got up, thank God for another day, came out better, learned, shared, and like we were talking about prior, just helping people, helping people with their own journey, not doing it for them, but truly reminding and helping and empowering people about the gifts, skills, traits, and qualities that make them so unique that God encrypted in them, literally within their DNA. Like we all have it in us. So that's what it is. That's where I am today, an entrepreneur, high ticket sales coach, crypto enthusiast, investor, of course, content creator, I guess, if that's a thing. And then I also just love to build community, lead men's groups, just anything to coach, empower, and inspire people. And that's come out better. And that's where we are today, in all the places that you can find me online and also maybe one day in person too. So yeah, it's good to be here. And that's a little bit about Cobb to start us off.
Yeah, it's very cool always to hear where someone has come from and where they're at now and look at
Yep.
that bird's eye view. I know that you're always talking about to when in doubt, zoom out, right? That's kind of
Yes.
your catchphrase motto, whatever you want to call that. So one of the most important things that you've already said is that those seeds with Jilly has been planted, right? And so with everyone that's listening to this, the fun thing is that we're going to plant a lot of seeds here. And
Yes.
once you listen to this, you'll never be able to unhear it. That's really important for people to understand. So, throughout your life, you've had awakening moments and you started to question, what is this reality? What's going on? The
Yep.
biggest struggle that I find myself in and other people in is we struggle to get ahead. And
Sure.
so the first question becomes, how do we get ahead?
Sure. Well, when you talk about getting ahead, and I'm big on language, and I've
Okay.
shared that many times over the years, conscious language and what language does to us. Getting ahead tends to, if I were to say, let's get ahead of something, or let's get ahead of the traffic, or get ahead, whenever you say that and you actually close your eyes and be present and feel that, it feels like someone behind you is pushing you. It feels like someone's trying to go faster than you need to go. And it's like this feeling, right? I got to get ahead. I'm
Mm,
trying to get ahead. It's like, you're leaning back, but someone or some program is pushing you to go faster and more kind of out of the moment than maybe you're supposed to go. Maybe you're going on your time, not God's time. So the first thing of getting ahead is my question is, who are you comparing to? Because sometimes when we feel like we have to get ahead, we are comparing to someone that is outside of us that is already further along.
mhm.
Yet, if you, like you said, Shawn, you learn about their story and where they're at and where they've come from, and you start to hear all that input and data, you might all of a sudden shift and be like, wow, I'm way more far ahead of them. And so it's like this weird game our mind plays of getting ahead, catching up, being early, and it's all has to do with linear time.
Yeah.
And the linear time is what actually has controlled us to live in a very three-dimensional, monatomic, like very basic way of living. The
Mm,
typical program, school, job, family, retire, dead. It's
yep.
like the just that's like the clockwork machine. But what is that all based on? It's all based on time. So getting ahead, first you have to acknowledge, I think if you're going to look far in the head, you also have to take a moment to reflect on the past, not dwell, but like reflect on the past and acknowledge the things that you have done. What happens is when we go backwards, we tend to default to all the things what we haven't done, we didn't do, we should have done. We wish we didn't. We have resent, we have anger, we have guilt, we have shame. If you ask 100 people and somehow tested what they would say when it comes to their past, naturally, I have a firm belief that we've been programmed and wired to look at those things first and then look at our accomplishments.
Mhm.
Then look at how we've changed, right? Then look at what we've done. Look at the family we started. Look at the wealth we have built. Look at the shape and the fitness we are in. Look at the habits we've changed. But that usually comes after we drop ourselves so deep, right, into that dark place.
Mhm.
So when you look ahead, the way I start to look at it, people look ahead of like what they need to do,
Yep.
what they have to do, what they should do, what they are going to do instead of what they're doing today. And so I think when you look ahead, it's important to have a North Star. We talk about that with our community, having a North Star, which no matter where you're at in the world, that star doesn't change location. Like
Mm,
that's always there, whatever that is. Maybe for you, for me, it's being able to do what I want with who I want, anytime I want, without money, health, or any obstacle ever getting in my way. I
mm,
believe that's true freedom, right? So that's my North Star. So the things I'm doing to get ahead are not just to do what Shawn's doing or to keep up with a social media influencer or live up to another expectation of somebody else. It's all that is just white noise as long as I can see the North Star. And that's what I'm actually wearing on my necklace. It is literally a North Star. So it just reminds me of where I'm going, like that's the zoom out lens, like you said, Shawn. But when I
mhm.
zoom in, I can get in my head and look at, oh, what do I need to do? Or what do I have to do? Now, here's the last part of it: planning, strategy, goal setting, mentorship. You can compare for motivation, right? Not desperation. So it's not like there's an end all be all with this concept I'm sharing. There's just the balance of zooming out, seeing your North Star, where you want to go. Some people have no clue because they don't even know where they're going today. So that's the hard part. That's getting ahead because you're seeing a timeline that is literally already out there for yourself. You know it. The spiritual community calls it your highest self,
Mhm.
right? The highest timeline you can be on. So there's this reality that is out there that is far in the future that you see that you can be. And that's where whenever you get doubtful, like if you have a bad day, zoom out, see that bigger picture again, make that a habit and train your mind to do it, and you will naturally default and immediately shift that mood.
Yeah.
Zoom in. All right, how do we get there? What vehicle? Who do I need to be around? That right there, these little methods, these little operations is how you truly do get ahead.
Yep.
But the whole previous topic that I was sharing before of going in the past, the negative, the stress, the anxiety, it's like you're so scattered out of the moment instead of what can I do today? What can I do now? What's the next best decision? plus where's my North Star? And if I have the zoom out and zoom in lens and I operate from there,
Yep.
everything else, I will never feel like I'm behind. I'll never feel like I'm ahead. I'll literally feel like I'm right on time. And that
Wow.
gives me peace. If you're right on time right now in your life, I'm right on time. And I acknowledge that every day. And every time I say that, the very things that I want in the future actually get closer and closer and closer. You're dissolving time. And it's an incredible concept. So that's why the getting ahead, I used to say it a lot, but when I broke that all down, I was like, wow,
Mm.
okay, this is a whole different way of looking at time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And that's something I've definitely noticed as a pattern within myself, even today, whether it's comparing myself to someone else or whether it's I
Yeah,
have built up an anxiousness even coming onto this podcast today, right? A bigger guest than I've had for the last one, something like this.
sure.
And I can go and get in my head and instead of just being more present, even just within the day to day. So what what comes to mind for me is that there's a lot in the world that's very fear-based right now. Just as we were
Yeah,
saying, and how the media can control us, or um, you're programming the wrong things into your head, all of these different aspects that people may be aware of, may not be aware of. But in the world today, there's a lot of fear. And
right.
so how do you view fear?
Yeah.
And why do you have such an optimistic outlook for the world right now, as opposed to how many people view the world today?
Yeah, that's a great question too. Well, fear is and I've gone in the depths of fear. I mean, fear of losing my dad. I lost him. Fear of having no money. I've been thousands of dollars in debt. Fear of getting sick. I've been sick, right? The fear of not being able to, do X, Y, and Z. So fear is it's a beautiful teacher if you let it be. Obviously, people will label it as a lower vibration. I think every emotion has a the right proper vibration with always the right medicine. But if you label it as a bad thing, then of course that is a bad thing, right? So, given the state of the world, and I look at it too as a collective awakening, you have to look again, and I usually have like a little whiteboard I draw, but you have to look kind of like a crypto chart. You got to have
Mhm.
the downs and the ups. When you have life that is just a straight line, it's a flat line. You're good as dead, right? That's the comfort zone. So we left like our world once was great. There was never a time where it's this bad, this corrupt, this sick. Then this is where the polarities help me. So you asked me, how do I
Mhm.
stay so optimistic
Mhm.
when the world feels down here? Because I've had to train myself to get there mentally. Years ago, I would have been down here still. I would have think, oh my God, this is not working. Holy crap, is this actually real? Like that's usually what happens when you wake up. You're
Mhm.
stuck in the fear. And they say you go down the rabbit holes too much, you'll lose yourself, which is very true because there's so much darkness that is in this world,
Mhm.
whether it's real or not, that our minds actually will process and comprehend. So we're in this low fear, right? Not a low as a bad thing, but just energetically. And so you have to train your mind every day with words, with thoughts, with affirmations, with repetition, reprogramming, questions, journaling. There's all these methods that people will say they do in order to train their mind to stay like optimistic. Because we have to have those polarities. You can't have this
Mhm.
much fear without that much love. We can't have that much hate without that much joy, right? You got to have these polarities. That's the way the universe works. So right now, I think in the collective, we left a time where it was great, and now we're at the bottom of they call it the dark ages, like the Bronze Age, the Iron Age. These ages where war is rampant. We've come last 100 years, the Federal Reserve, Big Pharma, World War I, World War II, bombings, trafficking. We've been in such dark times that the universe doesn't stay that way forever, right? There's always the ebb and the flow. So the way I look at it, the fact that there's so much fear out in the world is a good thing.
Mhm.
Because if there wasn't, we would still be asleep to our comforting lives and the
Mhm.
lies that we're told. Before COVID, how much fear was there? Hardly any.
Yeah.
People were just like, oh, I got a cold. Let's go to the park. I don't care. Hey, I don't need to be around you. Like, it's okay. I washed my hands. No one was scared of anything, really.
Yeah.
But the problem is people were unknowingly taking pills.
Yep.
People were drinking their pain away. People were giving their tax dollars and trying to pay more taxes to help our roads and schools, which don't do that. So, in a way, fear is actually a really, really, really good thing that the world's experiencing.
Mm.
And there's people listening to this who will disagree and say, no, well, you don't understand because you're privileged or all this. And I'm blessed. I'm
Hmm.
grateful. Yeah, I guess I am privileged. Like this is the card I'm dealt, and I'm going to do the best I can. I'm not living in places where I'm getting bombed,
Hmm.
God willing. So it's hard for me to say that these things are positive, but I
Yep.
just trained my mind so much to see the gold in the dirt always, that the fear that the world's experiencing is actually helping waking people up.
Yeah.
Like you have to push someone, like again, same analogy, someone pushing behind you, but
Yep.
imagine they're pushing you to the edge of a cliff
Mm.
and your feet are like scrambling to stay on the cliff. You know those movie scenes like you're about to fall.
Yep.
You know how much fear is in your body? What happens? How far is this cliff? Do I have a parachute? Is anyone going to catch me? Am I dead? Is my life over? All of these thoughts have to be brought up to the surface because they've been stuffed down for so long. So I think the fear and the awakening process is actually a good thing because it allows the consciousness of the world to actually purge this stuff, to
Yeah.
actually bring fear out. Why are we so scared of the government? Like, why are we so scared of death? Why are we so scared of a diagnosis? Is because we were never taught it by the system.
Yep.
So if that comes up and we acknowledge it, we can now process it and now finally redirect our attention and consciousness to go find solutions that are holistic based.
Yeah.
But you couldn't do that if you didn't have the fear. You
Yep.
would just keep taking the pill. So
Yep.
that's why fear is incredible. It's an amazing tool. It shines light on all the good things that this is possible in this world. It brings the darkness to the surface for light to shine on it. It brings up hate in people. It brings up the greed, the envy, the jealousy, the anger, the frustration, and is literally coming out left and right. You're seeing people's colors be exposed. You're seeing masks no longer work to hide their true self. And that's what the Great Awakening is. So to stay optimistic in it, it's not an easy feat. It definitely has to start with your own inner world first, as you know, and being able to navigate where you find peace in your life.
Yeah.
Like, do things still trigger you? What angers you? What makes your blood boil? What pisses you off? What gets you scared? And if these things aren't faced and felt, right, and transmuted and acknowledged, well, then everything you see outside of you will just trigger those emotions and feelings. And that's why everything is so scary.
Yeah.
So for
This.
me, doing that inner peace, that inner work, like everything I look around, like I just have trained my mind to find the optimism,
Yep.
right? The possibility, the potential. I'd rather focus on the 10% of good things that are really happening that are overweighing and outweighing the 90% of the bad things,
Mm.
even though that doesn't make sense mathematically.
Yeah.
But when the 10% is so big and strong and loud and truthful, it does wash out so much of the lower energies that people may be feeling.
Yeah. That's definitely a frame of fear that I have not had it described to me in that way before. So, especially for people listening, this is a very helpful way to see how you personally took fear and transmuted that into optimism and the rewiring of your brain and that continued consistency of
Mhm.
the renewal of your mind. And
Yep.
so when you start to have these different paradigm shifts, there's many people, including myself, that can look at, okay, well, the government is doing this and it's all shady, or this pharmaceutical company is doing this and it's all shady.
Yeah.
Once you start to have that awareness, how did you find that it was best to actually integrate all of these holistic patterns? Because it's one thing to know something, but it's another thing to embody that. So, how did you
Absolutely.
start to actually integrate all of these things that you've learned?
Yeah, here's a mind bender for you. So you just said the government is shady, big pharma is shady, right? The Federal Reserve is shady.
Yep.
So because, not you specifically, but let's say Bob
Mm.
said that. Because
Yeah.
Bob said that, that's his perception. And the
Mm.
perception and perspective is based on what? The internal world. So I would
Oh.
ask Bob, what do you do that's still shady?
Oh, true. Okay.
And so now all of a sudden the spotlight's where?
Back onto Bob. Yep.
So most people that wake up, they'll
Yeah.
put the spotlight on the government, which I
Yep.
did
Yep.
until I realized I'm just going to keep seeing negativity and how corrupt, sick, evil these people are. That doesn't bring me joy in my life. That brings me down. I got
Mm.
depressed. I was like, this is insane. Like, what are we even doing? But the fact that I was able to look at myself and instead of, always blaming, right? Blaming parents, blaming friends, blaming money, blaming the Fed. I started realizing that I never took accountability for my own life. I was still making bad habits. I
Hmm.
was still talking behind people's back. I was still being sketchy. I was still being, telling lies. I was still doing things that were to my highest self. I was still being shady. So I guess before you transition into the golden age timeline,
Hmm.
you've got to flip the spotlight on yourself, and nobody likes to do that.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to do that because, like I said, I can tell exactly what state of being people are in by just the way they tell me and what they see and how they see the world.
Mm.
And what do most people see? Pain, stress, a lot, chaos, crazy, a lot happening, overwhelming. My gosh,
Yep.
sick. I'm tired. I don't have much money. I'm literally just getting an inside look at their own brain,
Yep.
not at the world, whether that's true or not. Because in a way, Shawn, I could go talk to somebody else and they say, dude, people are waking up. Like I'm actually eating clean now. I have a
Mhm.
relationship with a farmer. Like I've made money in crypto. I just started a
Yep.
nonprofit. I bought some land. Like I feel incredible. I found my tribe. Like, dude, we're in heaven. What do you think that man's state of being is?
Yeah.
Peace, calm, gratitude.
Yep.
So without even having to do anything action wise or like go and change over the course of months or go make a ton of money, you can do all those things. But if that internal world does not actually get spotlighted, nothing will actually change.
Yeah.
So, in order to go that route, like you were asking in the question of seeing
Hmm.
all the darkness and all the bad stuff, and how do you transmute that and go into a solution-based scenario before you go take that external action, you just have to sit with and find a mentor, find
Hmm.
someone that can hold space, find a journal to start journaling. That's the hard part. We weren't taught how to actually process and move through thoughts, feelings, emotions, traumas, patterns, habits, nervous system irregulation. We were never taught how to do that. I
Yep.
wasn't taught how to do that. It took me years to figure this out. But as I kept finding more peace, I started forgiving myself more. I started praying more. I started like actually respecting my body more, thanking my body, like being actively present in recovery. Like, you talk about stretching, which is
Hmm.
what you got. Like, I was doing more of those things and just more acts of self-love, boundaries.
Hmm.
All of this stuff would be the most important thing in order to go to a different trajectory.
Hmm.
Because once you do that first, you have a solid foundation. Then when you go try to change your diet, it sustains.
Yeah.
Then when you go start a new workout plan, you're thriving. Instead of doing it because you're trying to run and avoid the very things you're pointing outside of you at the things nobody likes for.
Yeah.
Government, the Fed, the media, Trump, Biden, the politicians, the war, all that, always pointing fingers. There's times for it. We have to be
Hmm.
aware of it, but to cast our energy out to it, we're just feeding it. But
Yeah.
none of us want more of that. But yet, the more we talk about it, the more it's going to manifest. So, whenever I do share those types of timelines, I always make to give solutions, right? Because there's the problem reaction solution that the government does,
Hmm.
but in a bad outcome. For me, I'd rather shine light on the problem, give a solution so the problem never happens again.
Yeah.
That's the tweak, right? So that's what I would say for someone that wants to make a pivot is you got to pivot the spotlight that is now no longer outside of you. You got to put it on yourself and
Yeah.
kind of face the things you haven't faced and stop blaming the things that are outside of you. That'll get you in the right direction.
Now, when we're looking at our whole inner world and what we have not been taught about
Yeah.
our inner world and how to regulate ourselves emotionally and through our
Yeah.
nervous system, create boundaries, not only why do you think that we are not taught this, but in order to change, how do
Yeah.
you how would you create a space for the world for people to actually learn this? Like what would you do?
Yeah, two good questions. The reason why they don't want us to know this and to change is because if you were to do research and if you were to get really scientific, because I know a lot of people need proof, right? They need the
Hmm.
studies. We're living in a very left brain world. The right brain, holistic world doesn't always have that proof. It's just an intuitive knowing. So I'll do the first of two-part answer of the inner knowing and then the actual proof. If you were to do EKG scans, if you were to do something with the brain, if you were to do something with beta wave, alpha wave, when you're in that kind of calm, peace, flow state, you're in your
Hmm.
alpha brain wave. Most people are in their beta. So beta is like what is it? Uh, Fight or flight, right? Fight or flight, where they're ready to go. They're on caffeine. They're burnt out of blue light. Their dopamine system is zapped. Their mineral stores are gone. Their hormones are out of whack. their circadian rhythm is broken. So imagine all of those things. The state of your mind is so far from the present, you don't even know how to sit still.
Hmm.
And that is when you become present, when your circadian rhythm gets a little bit more balanced, your hormones a little more regulated, your minerals a little bit more evened out and full, right? You're not on the blue light. Your dopamine is recovered and regenerated. You have all of this orchestra that God gave us, each of us, like a perfect symphony with all the different instruments in the band, now on the same page. When you're in this state, this flow state, and this is where you talk to people like, I don't know how I did that. That just came to me.
Hmm.
That content went viral. I don't know. It took me 5 minutes to make. I didn't think about it. What they're saying is they stayed so present in these processes that there was no way for them to get out of the moment, which then allowed them to get the downloads, to be the best public speaker, to go viral, to make the money, to close the deal, to hit the PR, to sleep like a baby, all these things everybody wants. So if the elites or the system taught us what I just taught you in 2 minutes,
Hmm.
well, a lot of the pain, disease, war, anger would not exist in this world.
Hmm.
And I believe that goes deeper in like to the teachings of the ancients, the biblical times, what Jesus, like all those things without getting religious, is that there's this some gift about this present moment. So the second part of the question that you were saying is how would you get people to do this? It's just education. Like that's all it is. You have to just relearn. And there's so many different teachings now on how to get to that moment, how to actually be like Joe Dispenza is very good at it. He's very well known in helping millions of people. Years ago, we weren't able to help these people,
Hmm.
creating courses, podcasts like this. I think we're on the trajectory of people learning how to get there, but
Hmm.
it's going to take time because you can't undo, unwire, and unprogram 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years of the same thing over and over and over. Because so many people wake up, right? You've heard this 50,000 thoughts a day,
Yep.
45,000 of them are the same as yesterday.
Yeah.
90% of those are negative.
Mm.
So imagine going to the gym and doing the wrong exercise every day, but wondering, I'm 40, how do I not have a bicep? And
Yeah.
all you've been doing is tricep extensions. You're doing the opposite. It just doesn't make sense. So just like repetitions, you have to just slowly do it day by day,
Yeah.
find that space to be present. That's why meditation is such a common thing that people say to do. I
Hmm.
just say, just sit still, look up at the sky, or just stare at a tree for 5 minutes.
Hmm.
We'll just start with 1 minute.
Yeah.
Like just sit, don't let a muscle move, breathe, let yourself blink, but just practice getting the body so still. You don't even, because what happens, people close their eyes and their mind races,
Mm.
but they open their eyes and they're present.
Yep.
So it's like, how do you get in that space where if you do have your eyes closed or open, you're still present with no thought happening, and start with 1 minute. Tomorrow, do 2 minutes,
Yep.
then do 3 minutes. On day four, let's say you struggle to get to 4 minutes, like your mind kept turning on. Now you've met your threshold of what your mind does when you leave the present moment.
Yeah.
Because we all have that voice in our head. Like we talk, like that's the limiting belief is not our belief. It's not
Hmm.
Shawn's belief. It's this voice that probably isn't Shawn's, that he's heard enough times to believe it, that came from an external source that he used to trust and rely on as what credible, and became embedded so much in his head that it became his voice. That voice became louder than Shawn's voice. So limiting beliefs, just on a side note, like I believe in them, but I really don't,
Yeah.
because I would say limiting beliefs of you or someone else. More times than not, it's someone's else. We just
Mm.
took it on as our own. So that's how I would get this word out to people, is to educate, coach, and teach them how to get into this space. And the easiest way I learned was in meditation, was in cross-legged, eyes closed, chanting, where and whatever people feel called to do, by all means.
Hmm.
I literally just laid and sat. I just stared at a tree. And I would be 30 seconds in and my brain would go, are we done?
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap, there you are.
Mm.
Then I would pause. I'd go back. I'd just stare at a tree, or I'd stare at a bird or a car. Just stare at it.
Yep.
Undivided attention where everything shuts off, and watch how fast that voice comes in that's probably not yours to try to take you out of the moment. Because when you're in that moment long enough, the voice will change from whatever voice that is to a godly voice
Yep.
that literally is full of love and downloads and guidance and epiphanies and moments. And Shawn, you know exactly where to go and what to do next.
Hmm.
But how do we get into that space where we can receive that message instead of just keep replaying on loop the same message we heard yesterday.
Yeah.
There's just all these downloads that are waiting to be going into people. And that's part of the awakening too. So I think it's happening on a collective unconscious level. People don't know it's happening. But consciously, courses, program, just all the things that are out there. Definitely start researching and can give you some direction on how to get into those spaces for sure.
Yeah, we've definitely touched a lot on just your internal world and how to begin to start to reshape it, begin to see the world differently. One
Yep.
of the biggest things that you are really convicted about is water. And
Hmm.
so, where did your journey start with when you first sought out information about water
Yeah.
or plastics, microplastics, and
Yeah.
where is it now?
Yeah, it's funny because growing up as an athlete, hydration was a big part of our regimen.
Hmm.
But hydration to me was Gatorade, Powerade, Propel, those little Gatorade powders you would sprinkle in, try to get as much sugar. Arizona, just anything liquids you could get in your body was what the coach said, the trainer said. My dad said just, hey, drink more water. So I would be the guy that carried around those gallon crystal geysers, right? The
Hmm.
gallon of Arrowhead. Everyone would laugh at me, oh, there's the water guy. But I was always cramping and I was always hurt and I was always injured. And I was like, all right, it's just sports. So I didn't know about microplastics. I didn't know about, minerals. I didn't know about ORP and hydrogen and, structured water, microcluster, all these terms that go so deep in the water world. I was not aware whatsoever. And then, like I said earlier in the show, God woke me up with a health scare. And that was when I had my first awakening to my health. But again, water wasn't my first thought. I wasn't going, all right, I need more water. I have colitis, I need more water. I have allergies, I have eczema on my skin. Where I need my water. Where's Dasani? It was the opposite. I was like, all right, what pill do I got to take? Right?
Hmm.
What medication or what diet do I have to change or what thing do I have to take? What supplement? So I was, like I said, I was given a choice, go to Big Pharma, that route, or God bless Jilly again, who planted the seeds of awakening in me. She came to me and said, hey, try water. Literally, that was like, hey, I have this water. It's alkaline. Like you should try it. It helped me. I'm like, no. What the heck is alkaline water? I've never heard of that. That I have a Brita. Like so close-minded. And this was in
Yep.
2016, almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
And so she had an experience. She had ovarian cysts that were cancerous. She went to the doctor. They did testing and they're like, yeah, we need to do chemo and surgery to get these out because you could die of cancer. Black
Hmm.
magic stuff.
Hmm.
And she said, no, that's not happening. She left. She said, no, I'll come back later. I'm going to figure this out. And they're like, good luck. Like, just literally straight up. Her friend at the time recently helped someone with a health scare. So it's like a chain reaction, right? And that's how we share this with the world. We just tell stories and let people have their own experience and miracles unfold. So she drank this type of water that I didn't know existed, and her cysts were gone in just about a month, all of them. She went back to the doctor to test. Her symptoms were suppressing. And next thing you know, the doctor said, we can't find any of your ovarian cysts. What the heck did you do? Are you playing? Like they were like attacking her. Are you making fun of us? Are you playing with us? Did you never
Hmm.
have this? And she said, well, I just drank this medical grade water from Japan. And the doctors laughed at her
Hmm.
and said, leave. And right there, when she told me that, I was like, all right, what is this? Because I don't know, it just intuitively, right?
Yeah.
You just got rid of your ovarian cysts that were cancerous, and for disclaimer, I'm not saying Kangen water does this to everybody.
Hmm.
I have no clue. This is
Yep.
just her story, what she told me. She was in bad shape, started drinking a different kind of water, didn't change anything else, and this happened. So I was like, all right, let me try it. Finally, after months of being in pain from colitis, which is no fun, they say you'll have for life, ulcers of the colon, eczema on my skin, acid reflux, allergies where I couldn't pet cats. I was knocked out for days when, the spring or pollen would kick up with the wind, and I was done. I was bad. I was 25. I got the worst hangovers. I had so much inflammation. Dude, I thought I was 90 years old. I literally thought I was 90 years old at the time, and I was like, this sucks. What do I do now? And Jilly came in and said, try this water. I said, all right, bring some. Long story short, that was the greatest decision of my life because in the coming days after I started just drinking this water, didn't do anything else, kept eating what I was eating, still partied on the weekend, 25-year-old, making bad decisions, but I made a good decision to change the water I drank. All those things that I was experiencing started to get better and better by the glass. to a point where I was kind of freaking out. Like I
Mm.
slept 13 hours like a baby. My skin cleared up. I didn't no longer need any Allegra or Zantac or Tums or Pepto-Bismol after meals. Like my bloating went away. I started losing inflammation. Like I was getting ripped. I was getting lean. I recovered fast in the gym. I literally woke up and I was like, I don't even feel like I need a coffee because I used to drink caffeine every day. I'm like,
Hmm.
I feel wired at 5 a.m. What the hell is going on? And then she just said, wow, the water really is doing its thing for you. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. And that was it.
Yeah.
That's when it started. Because when you go through that, transform, have something that works, you look back, you're like, what just happened?
Yep.
How did I get there? And then I
Hmm.
dove into food, sports drinks, the ORP, the free radicals and liquids. And then I went into what is in this water? What does it replicate? How does it mimic Mother Earth? What properties, what therapies, what benefit, who's using it? Tom Brady, doctors, like top of the line, cert, like people around the world are using this water. How do I not know about it?
Hmm.
And I got to tell everybody now. And then I read books, seminars, you name it. I must have spent the last 8 years of my life really diving into how the body works and the importance of water and why it is such an overlooked medicine. And as you know, like anything, whether it's imbalanced or not, can be a slow form of poison.
Hmm.
The wrong kind of water, right? Back to what you're saying, microplastics, acidic, devoid of oxygen, devoid of actual hydrogen to give the body antioxidants, a positive charge, not a negative charge. Like a positive charge is like Wi-Fi poisoning. Those are all
Hmm.
positive ions. People are literally drinking positively charged water that takes their energy from their negatively charged body.
Hmm.
And that's a whole brain opener. I just shared that on my stories yesterday. We live in a world that is proton rich and electron deficient. Everything in the body requires electrons. In order for your cells to work, needs electrons,
Yep.
right? And then that's how you go into nature, and that's why you feel so good when you go camping, you're at the beach, because you're saturating and inhaling and grounding. What are you taking in? All those electrons.
Yep.
So I was like, holy crap, this glass of water has more electrons in this glass of water than maybe me at the beach all day.
Yeah.
And I drink that every day. Are you kidding? No wonder I feel amazing. I'm 35. I haven't had any health issues since. Like this is insane. And that's what really opened up the wormhole. And we've helped 25,000 people get these devices and change their water. And I don't think I could ever drink anything else for the rest of my life. So
Yeah.
the water world is deep. It's like the water hole, like the rabbit hole.
Yep.
Um, but when you connect it to nature and then the biology of the human body, and
Hmm.
like you know me, I like to simplify things, take the
Hmm.
complex and simplify it in 5 minutes. When you combine the external and the internal world of how nature works and how our bodies work, it's crystal clear of the most optimal. I won't say best because people will argue this is better than that, but
Hmm.
overall, in my opinion, the best water you can ingest daily. Also, the best water, like I have in a spray bottle, of the best waters, the six other types of waters that you can actually use topically or externally. So
Mm.
water is like probably 50% of my whole health puzzle.
Wow.
And that's what's so amazing because, it's diet, nutrition, exercise, sleep, red light therapy, cold plunge.
Yep.
But I'm like, people don't even know what water are you drinking? You don't cold plunge every day, 5 times a day. You drink water every day, multiple times. It's
Mm.
like we do the most common thing, which is breathing. Because if you
Yeah.
stop breathing for more than a handful of minutes, you're dead. You're
Hmm.
out. You stop drinking water for, a handful of days, you're not probably in good shape
Yep.
unless you're trained breatharian or someone who can live off fruit but not everybody does that. So you have to look at the bigger picture because you can go for food without food for weeks if you had to.
Yep.
Easy. You can go without your supplements for weeks if you had to. If you
Hmm.
don't go to the gym for a few weeks, all right, but maybe your body needs rest. It doesn't
Yep.
mean the end of the world. So there's things that we do that is so prioritized in health and fitness,
Hmm.
especially in the fitness world and the health world, but yet there's always that little lagger, the water.
Yeah.
Oh, just drink your water, filter it, filter your water. Oh, glass bottles, that's it. Yeah, that's like saying having a car and just saying the only part of the car is a tire and a steering wheel. Like, well, what's this button?
Yeah.
What's this function? Why is this here? What do
Hmm.
we do after we filter? What's ionization? What's the dissociation of water? What's the surface tension? What's the charge? That's like saying what's the V8, what's the combustor, what's the air filter, what's the ignition, what's the transmission, what's the gas tank. But
Yep.
we don't say a car is just two things. And that's what kind of pisses me off is that these people that are so smart in the health world, they're literally making water see like just tires and a wheel when it's a
Mm.
whole complex car. But most don't take the time to learn it because it would truly make people realize not to pull away, but to reshift where a lot of their focus is about nutrition, right?
Yep.
Vegan, carnivore, eat this, eat that, don't eat this. It's like you do all those things, but to me, what are you consuming liquids every day and what are you showering in? What are you using every day with water? That might be a bigger precursor to the health issues that you're having. So I can go on and on about
Right.
water, man. It just goes
Yeah.
so deep. But to simplify it again, it's the external awareness of how Mother Nature works. A
Yep.
lot of us are trying to get closer to nature.
Yep.
And then it's the internal awareness of how our bodies work. A lot of us are trying to get closer to God.
Yep.
So you have the masculine and the feminine. We want to get closer to that divine mom and dad, right?
Yeah.
But then how do we get there? Water is that bridge, in my opinion. Water is the vehicle that gets you there physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, quantumly,
Mm.
financially, etherically, and energetically.
Yeah.
To get to
Uh,
that origin, I believe water is that vehicle. And people are waking up.
yeah.
At least, no more tap, microplastics. People
Yep.
are waking up, and that's why so many people are coming to us about the Kangen water because they know that water is so much more than just now filtration, purification, distillation. That's just like chapter one of the book.
Yeah.
But make sure you read the rest of the book because most
Yeah.
people stop there.
Yeah. Again, for myself, I did not realize how deep water actually went. I've seen on the surface level, just like researching for the podcast, right? I started to look up the microplastics, the proton filled water, like some of the more basics to me now, right? Even starting with glass versus plastic. And
Yeah.
so when you started to talk a lot about the proton filled water as an electron being, was this something from your opinion or if there's research or whatever?
Yep.
When we look at water now, was this something that was intentionally done or more accidentally done in terms of the quality of our water today?
Yeah, good question. So the first part of your question, a place that I learned this, and you guys can research, his name is Dr. Jerry Tennant. Long story short, this guy had various viruses in his body. He had a lot of health issues to a point where he was basically dead. And all he did was lay in his bed and study how a cell works. His theory was if you know how one cell works, you can make every cell in the body work, right?
Mhm.
If you know how one thing works, if you can fix one computer and there's trillions of other computers that are the same, wouldn't it make sense that all computers work now? That's the human body. So
Yeah.
he got into what a cell does, not only what it does, he discovered of the energy it takes for the cell to do for the cell to do what it does.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So people get all caught up in the function of it. Mitochondria does this, ATP cycle does this, the Krebs cycle does this. Here's what it does, but it's all under an umbrella, and that umbrella back to a car. If you have a full tank of gas but no battery, how far do you go?
Mhm.
So his mind was, all right, I'm eating the right food, supplements, exercise, I'm giving the right fuel, but what is the charge? And then he found a way to test himself and he realized that his body was a positive millivolts. And then he started researching other researchers that were discovering that a healthy human cell has a negative charge.
Mm.
So if you need to make one cell work to
Yep.
get all trillions of others works, and if a healthy cell requires a negative charge, wouldn't it make sense to base our life around that principle?
Yeah.
So the water we drink should have a negative charge. The air we breathe should have a negative charge, but it doesn't because of chemtrails. The
Mm-hmm.
food we eat should have a negative charge. It doesn't because it's processed, genetically modified, and then we cook it. That's why people feel so good on a raw diet,
Yep.
meat or plant, because why? There's more electrons in it.
Oh, okay.
It's a whole
Yeah.
electromagnetic world. It's
Wow.
an electron-based universe. Here's the crazy part, Shawn. You go outside, you go grounding, right? When it's sunny and where you live.
Yep.
Why do we go do that?
I believe it has something to do with the electromagnetic pull from the ground.
Exactly. What's
Yeah.
Mother Earth donating to us?
Negative electrons. Okay.
Here's what really
Yep.
bends your mind. Ready? The human cell, Dr. Jerry Tennant, he wrote a 500-page handbook. 500 pages. He also has lectures online, other books. He works out of Dallas. I think he's retired now, but I'm going to say it, he has tr changed the trajectory of disease in many, many people
Hmm.
because of this principle of a negative voltage. He uses acupuncture points. He says our bodies have meridians, like ley lines, acupuncture points,
Okay.
which are the same ways of the meridians on the planet, ley lines on the earth.
Hmm.
So what evil does is they put like slaughterhouses, sporting stadiums, trafficking hubs near the ley lines of our planet, and that actually affects the energy of the whole Mother Earth.
Okay.
So when our
Wow.
and our acupuncture points are blocked, whether
Wow.
scars, trauma, tattoos,
Mm.
mercury fillings,
Mm.
like injuries, stuck emotions, it blocks the flow of circuitry. So it's like
Wow.
trying to plug in a lamp, but you turn it on, but you're like, why doesn't it plug in? But then what do you have to
Mm.
do? Change the socket or hit a switch to turn that circuitry on. That's the same thing as the human body. So
Wow.
everything outside of us is literally built and manifested of how the human body works.
Yep.
Technology, Wi-Fi, right? All that stuff is based
Yep.
off the brain. Our soil, right? Our microbiome, like our planet and the way we grow our food is
Yep.
based off our gut.
Mm.
The trees, right? All the forests, the trees, the rain, like all that is based off our lungs.
Yep.
Everything outside of us is a manifestation of the internal.
Mm.
So here's the brain bender. Ready?
Yep.
You have trillions of cells. A healthy cell is a negative 20 millivolts. Okay.
Okay.
What charge do you think the crust of Mother Earth is?
I'm gonna throw out. I'm gonna say -1,000.
Negative 20.
Oh, okay.
It's literally a replication of
Wow.
each one of our cells.
My God.
Just think about that.
Huh.
A healthy cell in your body for Shawn to live for however long you're going to live, okay?
Yeah.
Because disease and death is when your cells stop what? Having kids.
Okay.
When a healthy cell is healthy, it'll split into two more.
Yep.
That's how we grow. But what happens when we run out of energy, get dehydrated, right? We lack electrons, lack minerals, and all these things.
Mm.
What happens after that is now our cells stop replicating. What happens if everyone on the planet stopped having kids?
Oh my God. We're wiped out sooner than later.
What happens if every
Wow.
cell in your body stopped replicating?
Oh, I would feel terrible.
We'd be almost dead
Yeah. My
soon.
God.
That's disease. So in a way, to stop disease and to stop aging, we just have to make sure what? Our cells are what?
Negatively charged and
There you
producing.
go. There you go. So how
Okay.
do I do that? How do I do that? That's the secret.
Cont-
How do I
I've
do that? How
never
do I
looked
do
at it
that?
that way. I've
How do I
definitely
do
never.
that? All the water I drink,
Yep.
negative charge.
Wow.
I'm going to touch Mother Earth every day, negative charge. I got to get some air purifiers or maybe ionizers for my air,
Mm.
inhale negatively ions, negative charge. Go out in nature, negative charge. A little hard with food because we love to cook our food,
Hmm.
grill a steak, steam the veggies, bake, air fry. We love all that stuff.
Yep.
But if you can incorporate a raw salad, raw juice, chlorophyll,
Mm.
chlorella, spirulina, whole foods, fermented foods, like more plant-based. And if you're going to do meat, raw milk, like the raw with the
Mm.
actual energy still in it, and you do all these other principles,
Yep.
your health is already skyrocketing. You've done nothing crazy.
Wow.
You've just gotten back to basic things. When you exercise, right? When you exercise, same thing. When you exercise, every time your muscles contract, what do you think your muscles give out?
They contract. I'm gonna say they have some type of negative like charge to
Electrons.
them.
There you
Okay.
go, dude. So
Wow.
it's literally like a compressor. So every time you flex your bicep, that's why people who work out have what more? More energy. People don't go
That.
work out because they're low on energy.
Mm.
They're basically saying, I'm low on electrons. Shawn, help me. So what do
Wow.
I go do? I go to Starbucks. Those are not electrons.
Yep.
That's caffeine. That's a different energy. That's the
Mm.
3D synthetic form to keep people trapped in their mind.
Yep.
I'd rather just
Oh
go
my
out in the
God.
sunlight, put my feet in the dirt, drink a glass of electron-rich, hydrogen-rich water, take a few breaths, and I now have more energy to do with myself.
Yeah.
And that's how close people are. So
Yeah.
when you work out and you contract a muscle, your body gives off piezoelectric electrons. And
Yep.
Jerry Tennant discovered that too, battery packs. So that's why
Okay.
movement, the longest living people are always moving.
Hmm.
Why? Because they can give off their own free energy. Those
Yep.
electrons are then used to replicate cells, so now they can live a long time.
Yep. It's
Real
one thing,
simple.
even 10 years in health and fitness, and I'm an outside the box thinker and I understand some concepts for the most part, like at a base level. You know, you start out in the gym and it's here are macros, here are calories, here is food quality, here's how much water. But to break it down into what your body's actually doing and what your body actually needs in terms of from a cellular, molecular, and electron level, that's
Yeah.
a completely different way than I have learned it, right?
Yeah.
Even going to school for exercise science, even training over 100 clients, like these aren't concepts, these aren't things that were, I don't want to say readily available, but something that I didn't even decide to look into,
Yeah.
right? And so for someone that's not even health and fitness, why can't I lose weight? That this is just going to break them open because it already broke me open from
Mhm.
someone that already has a background in how do you lose weight, how do you gain muscle, right?
Mhm.
At a very base level. Um,
Exactly, man.
so there's so much to it. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to re-listen to this quite a few times because as people know, I prepare for these podcasts. Like I listened to all of your podcasts in preparation to make sure that I came
I love it.
as positive as I could. But
Yeah,
even then, I still wasn't ready for
yeah.
things like this, you
Yeah.
know? And
And you
so
said and you said it best too. It's like the world that we live in, right? What we're taught, the school, the doctrination, all the things
mhm,
that they keep us near the what? They keep us near the surface.
yeah,
That's where they can control us best. They don't want you going deep and asking questions. They don't want you looking at, health through a quantum biology lens, through a quantum feedback lens, through a subatomic electron rich. That's why they teach us what atoms and cells in like seventh grade or
yeah,
high school. They make us make a shoebox, right? Make a cell of a shoebox. Remember those? Like
yep,
it's literally indoctrinated in our whole country,
mm,
but when again are we taught that? You
yeah,
would you would you
never,
would think there would be a course of, so this is how God designed us based on thousands of years of research. So you know that all you have to do are these five simple things and you may not need anything else. That
yep,
would wipe out billions of dollars in business too. And you know
yeah,
that, follow the money. So the
yeah,
deeper we go in these lenses I'm giving you, like I said, research is catching up to what I'm telling you.
hmm,
This is where they're catching up, right? We're ahead. We're
yep,
getting ahead. Like
yeah,
the things I'm
yeah,
teaching you
yep,
is ahead of where the world is going. But there are doctors, there's scientists, there's tons out there now you can find easily. Dr. Jerry Tennant, start there. He has so much out that you can start looking through health through a quantum lens, a electron-based world instead of a proton-based world, right? Because everything that is bad for us is proton rich,
yep,
right? All the things like, you take supplements like bentonite clay or binders, they're
hmm,
negatively charged charcoal, right? It's
mm,
negatively charged, and a negative charge attaches to a free radical, which is a positive charge. So our whole world, right? People are in cubicles, people are not in nature. They're so proton saturated that if the powers that were actually taught us this, like you said, we would have a whole different world. Like
yeah,
we would literally be living in a different sphere, which we're going in that direction. That's why I say
hmm,
the best is yet to come. It's our
yep,
mission here to wake people up to this truth because most of the things I just told you, you're not going to find a PubMed article that breaks that all down,
yeah,
right? That's why I
I
remember
agree.
I said the right brain holistic world sometimes does not have proof,
Yep,
doesn't have the science yet.
yep,
However, intuitively, you felt it.
hmm,
Visually, you
yep,
saw it. And when you connect the vision and the intuition and your heart knows it, you're like, this is the truth.
yeah,
But people that don't have that vision, the intuition or heart to comprehend it will
hmm,
always need proof, right? They'll
yeah,
always need the science. And that's
that's
where people get tripped up. Like, I need the science of the water. I'm like, did you not just watch the master class?
yeah,
Like, did you not see what I just painted? And like, yeah, I totally get it. But who's using it?
yeah,
So they need that to validate. And that's cool too.
yeah,
So, like I said, it's like we're not taught this because the deeper we go, the more their system starts to shake and tremble a little bit. It's
yeah.
very,
No, that's a really great explanation. As we start to close up here, to be courteous of time, um, what I do still want to hear is there's so much around the world in terms of crypto and what's happening to our currency,
yeah.
and how we view the dollar, crypto. So I think that it would just be best to hear from you. Why are you so convicted in different areas of the crypto world right now?
For sure. And that's why I got my shirt, Future of Finance. So I got XRP, XLM, XDC. Make sure you guys look those up. Not financial advice, but start
Hmm.
researching. So here, I'll simplify it for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Two things that happen. So why am I so optimistic is the way I look at it, and I can see it right now, is I am in the harbor and there are two boats. Real simple. One boat is on the left, the one boat is on the right, and they both have their own docks. They're both ready to set sail, ready to go, like cruise ships, for example.
Yeah.
The one on the left is one that we've had since 1913. Okay. That boat is our central banking, debt fiat based, corrupt, inflated, debt driven system that is designed to create a wealthy and a poor and wipe out the middle for global domination and control. A little intense, but it's
Yeah.
the truth. That system is the legacy central banking system, fractional reserve banking, quantitative easing, fees, cross-border transactions that are monitored by SWIFT that are outdated, fraudulent, the devaluation of global currency, what they've done to the dinar, the Zim note, war, trafficking, money printing, all of that is on that left side. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? That ship has holes in it now. That ship is leaking. That ship is starting to have water come in. So my question to you, if you saw that ship, would you want to board it to set sail?
I would not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So that's how you have to look at it. It's that simple. So if I know that that ship is not sustainable, it's
Mhm.
breaking, it's getting exposed, it's getting audited, as you see what's happening with the Doge thing. Every
Yep.
like sub vessel of the ship, every little side little tugboat is also corrupt. So
Hmm.
they're going after the small things before they get to the big head of the snake. And once the world wakes up, taxes especially, that's all fraudulent, that's not unconstitutional. So this ship is sinking, it's cracking. So if I had my wealth, do I want to have the wealth that is based off that ship?
No.
Probably not. So now that's one ship. So let's look over
Hmm.
here. What's that one? Well, that's a new ship. That looks pretty. There's like some gold on it. There's some silver. It's got these little crypto emblems on the side. It looks like it's built to last 1,000 years, not 100. Let's go check it out. And in that boat also educates you on all of the reasons why this boat is safer, cheaper, more scalable, decentralized, affordable, cost efficient, environmentally friendly, and based on transparency, security, and truth. Those are all the holes that that ship on the left had. So logically, as an investor, as someone who protects my wealth, someone who wants to be ahead of where the world's going, someone that wants to be financially free, someone that wants to find ways to invest in cash flowing assets that will always bring a return, someone that wants to be able to make wealth to give it away. Logically, I would never go on that boat on the left. I'm going on the right. And that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
So what's happening is there's 8 billion people that are on this boat, but
Hmm.
about 7% of those people have already gone to this other boat with
Mm.
crypto. Because then you have another side boat, which is precious metals, which I'm big on too. God's money, right?
Yep.
That's like the VIP of the crypto. Like the crypto ship holds up and is backed, will be backed by these precious metals. The left ship, silver papers, gold completely gotten rid of, off the gold standard. Like they stuffed all the VIP of the boat two. On boat one, they stuffed it below where no one can see it. No one's going to get it. It's under the tunnels. It's hidden. So for me, if I know that both of these ships are setting sail soon, this one is sinking, and I don't want my luggage and my family on this ship. So I'm going to start slowly moving into this new ship.
Yep.
And every day, this ship gets more people on board, more wealth and more value, right? More assets, more tokenization, more real estate, more commodities, more treasuries, more derivatives, all of these economic terms. The more that they get onto boat number two, the more valuable this boat will be.
I see.
I'd rather my family be there, my luggage be there, my savings be there, my assets be there, my liquidity be on that boat, because as time goes on, we cannot go back to this one. It's not a matter of if crypto succeeds, it's already succeeded. It's been around for 20 plus years.
Mm.
Now the world's just actually seeing it because the corruption is being exposed and the bad actors are being put out of the way.
Yep.
So It's just a matter of when you're going to jump into it, not if, because whether it's today, next week, 5 years from now,
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah.
Like just like a smartphone. I don't know anyone that has a flip phone from 2009 still.
True.
I'll never get a smartphone.
Yeah.
You say that, but you will,
Yep.
because eventually your phone won't work. Eventually, the current way we do banking won't work anymore.
Hmm.
So why are you delaying the inevitable? This is perfect segue, full circle of getting
Yep.
ahead.
Yep.
Why are you delaying the inevitable of what's coming? And the reason being is too much, overwhelming. I don't get it. I don't trust it. I'm scared. But if you really think about it, and I were to ask them a few questions about the boat they're currently on that's sinking,
Hmm.
and they knew the truth, they would be terrified, scared, don't trust it, don't know how it works, yet they still use it.
Yeah.
And it's a whole different mindset. It's like learning English and then learning Spanish and then German, but being able to speak all three. That's
Yep.
what crypto does. It's a new language, man. It's
Yeah.
totally a new language. But that's it. What boat do you want to be on? And
Yep.
how fast are you going to get on this other boat or the boat you want to be on? Because the sooner you get onto it, the more wealth you'll actually accumulate as the rest of the world jumps on.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy, but that's the vision I see for this.
Yeah. I know that most everyone that's listening, especially myself, they've at least heard of crypto at this point,
Yeah.
right? And so for anyone that needs more of an in-depth experience or wondering more about crypto, go listen to Chris's podcast, the Cobcast, COB
Hmm.
cast, where you had a couple specific episodes on cryptocurrency,
Yep.
as well as just like you were talking about the Federal Reserve and our debt-based system.
Yep.
So I'll urge people to go towards there just to learn more as we wrap up here because we can't necessarily cover it in 8 minutes here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
um
ComeOutWealthier.com. Also, I created a crypto course with over 20 video modules, like 15 to 20 hours of masterminds, courses on how to buy, sell, courses on how to invest, what exchanges, a history of the world timeline, and then two workshops, each 4 hours long,
wow.
all on there on ComeOutWealthier.com that you guys can invest in. And it's to help the newest people get started or people that have been in crypto that just want to take their knowledge and education to another level. So that's definitely a good place if you want to get hands-on training through a course like a school. But if you just want to listen and hear, then yes, I got 2 episodes on the Cobcast, part one and part two about cryptocurrency. And then also at Come Out Wealthier on Instagram. It's a page all about crypto as well.
Awesome. Well, Chris,
Yeah.
thank you very much for today. And this
Yeah.
was very helpful for me. And I trust that it was just as helpful for everyone else that was listening. So thank you for your time today.
Absolutely. Maybe we'll do part two.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.